Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, gunshots, morning and night. We are struggling. In a rare testimony from the besieged Sudanese city of El-Fasher, one resident speaks of the fear and frustration of civilians trying to survive a merciless conflict. Also, less than 20% of people working in science and engineering in Africa are women. We speak to Cameroon's Rose Leke, a pioneering professor specialising in malaria, in town to be honoured for her work in science. And Benin encourages members of the African diaspora to call its shores home. It's on the brink of bringing in legislation that would grant citizenship to descendants of those who left Africa far in the past. But first, amidst Sudan's civil war, hundreds of thousands of people remain trapped in the Darfuri city of El-Fasher since fighting between the military and the RSF paramilitary escalated 2 weeks ago. Now, at least 123 civilians have been killed in clashes, including dozens just last Friday. Getting information out of the war zone is difficult, but our regional correspondent, Bastien Renouy, has made contact with one man currently stuck in El-Fasher. He sent us this report.
El-Fasher is Darfur's last big city, still under the control of the Sudanese military. But the rapid support forces are trying to take control of the city. It's very difficult to get information out of El-Fasher at the moment. I managed to talk to Mohammed. He used to be a student. He lives in El-Fasher. To protect him, he has to remain anonymous. Listen to him.
The gunshot is going all day and night. In every minute, there is a gunshot. Since the 8th of May, the RSF, during these days, they use the muzzles. They are shouting the muzzle where the area was filled up with the civilian, where the civilians are daily injured. Okay? That is it. That is what is happening.
According to medical NGO Médecins Sans Frontières, at least 134 people have been killed during the past 2 weeks and more than 900 have been injured. Life is getting more difficult every day in El-Fasher, especially for civilians. Listen to Mohammed.
So I'm just talking about starvation, destabilization, and price spiking for food. So we are suffering a lot about water, food, and medicine to reach out. There's a lot of people that can eat only 1 meal per day. The matter of medicine is nearly to finish. A lot of people lose their life because of medicine. There's no medicine, and especially the wounded body and the people with chronic disease.
Hundreds of thousands of internally displaced people live in El-Fasher. They have nowhere to go. And many are afraid that if the rapid support forces take control of the city, the situation will be the same as in El Geneina. El Geneina is the capital of West Darfur. It was besieged by the rapid support forces and local Arab militias allied to the RSF. According to the UN, since they took control of the city, more than 15,000 civilians have been killed.
Regional correspondent Bastien Renouy there for us. Now, at least 8 people were killed as gunmen kidnapped 150 others in central Nigeria. The mass abduction is the latest in a rash of raids in the country where armed gangs known as bandits target remote communities, taking residents and demanding ransoms. Motorbikers reportedly stormed the village of Kuchi on Friday night. Meanwhile, South Africa's gearing up for a high-stakes election week over the weekend. Tens of thousands of voters living abroad and around 1.6 million of the electorate in South Africa itself were allowed to vote early. But now the countdown is on for Wednesday's vote, in which the ruling ANC is expected to face some pretty stiff competition. Anne Wenzel takes the temperature.
In the city centre, everything is bustling, business as usual. Behind me, Parliament, everybody's trying to get into it. some of them trying to stay in it, the parties, of course, and the newcomers trying to get in, and as well the independents. First time they are running in 30 years. We've not had independents in South African elections before. Now, of course, the parliament buildings in Cape Town, more symbolic right now than anything else, because they did burn down in January of 22, and they still are in need of significant repairs. But this is where the focus is, the National Assembly. Jacob Zuma will not be getting a seat, no matter how many seats his MK party wins, because the Constitutional Court came through and said no, he cannot run because of his conviction. He will have to wait at least 5 years before he can stand a chance of being in the running again. But it's calm. Everybody is, I think, quietly anticipatory. And I do believe there is a level of hope within society, amongst politicians, and especially a hope for change.
And Anne will be talking us through the election as it unrolls over the week. So do stay with France 24 in the run-up to that. Now, less than 20% of people working in science and engineering in Africa are women, despite them making up over 50% of the population. And it's a pretty paltry showing that gets even thinner the higher up the ladder you go. It's not a question of talent, but often resources, expectations, mentorship, prejudices. Now, Cameroon's Rose Leke is a pioneering professor who is in town to be honoured for her work at the L'Oreal Women in Science Award to be held here in Paris this week. Now, she's managed to squeeze us into her packed schedule, so it's my honour to have her on the show. Dr. Leke, Professor Leke, thank you so much for making time for us. I'm actually weirdly excited. So, first of all, much of your work is focused on preventing and treating malaria, particularly in pregnant women. It's been a breakthrough time on that front for Africa, with 2 vaccines having been approved over the last few years. And Cameroon itself introduced the 4-dose RTSS shot into its routine national immunization program just this year. So what I'd like to know is how you personally feel about this development in this specialist field that you spent so many years working in, and how you think it's going to impact the lives and prospects of Cameroonians over the years.
Thank you very, very much. We've been really looking forward to this vaccine for very long, a malaria vaccine. And Cameroon was supposed to even launch this in December. But because there were some, these anti-vaccines that come in, Cameroon developed a really good communication strategy, which really made it that when they launched it in January, I can really tell you that vaccination since then has been going on. I've followed it up. And there are, in the area where we went to start it, like out of Yaoundé in Soa, you can find that children are being vaccinated, no side effects. I really went there. The thing is, it's going to be, this vaccine saves lives. And this was shown in when it was tried, the pilot in Malawi, in Ghana, in Kenya. It is saving lives. And I think that's what we're going to see in Cameroon. So far, it's going on very well, I can assure you.
And I imagine it must be personally very, very gratifying to see this evolution in your field.
A long time, yes. By the end of my career, for me to see malaria vaccine is really, really a great thing for me. Yes, it is.
Oh, you're referring to a long career. Looking back at all that you have achieved, what are some of the things that have brought you some of the greatest satisfaction?
Well, what I've done in polio eradication on the continent, because I chair the African Regional Certification Commission for polio eradication, I chair that, and had to sign the certificate on the 25th of August in 2020 that Africa is free from the indigenous wild polio virus, the whole of African continent. I signed that, and that gave me a lot of pleasure. Even though now I can assure you we have the problem with the variants, but at least the continent is free from indigenous wild polio virus. That one, and then the malaria vaccine that I've worked in malaria all my life, to see these 2 vaccines already, that really will save lives, are things that have made me really feel like I'm getting to the end of my career. And I feel so glad that I was involved in some of this and in most of it, along the way. Yes.
Besides the achievements that you can count within research, how You've also spent a lot of time trying to get past the glass ceiling, as you've put it, and you use your own progress to try and encourage others around you, other women, other African women, to get into STEM. What do you think are some of the big hurdles preventing that happening more? And also any encouraging signs that you may have seen over your career on that front?
Yes. Really, there are hurdles. I look at me, I'm going, my career is I'm retired, but I have to make sure there are people who will take over from me. I mean, I want to have to make sure that I didn't have real role models or the mentorship, but that we can give that to younger women. And I think that's so important that we do that together. And that's why we formed the Higher Women Consortium that we have in Cameroon, where you have a good holistic mentorship program where these women, you have 30 mentors and about 150 research young career women, they get to learn the soft skill, the hard, look for grants, write projects to get money. Most of the research we carry out is from external funding. Money is not much in the continent for funding. So we have to teach them how to get this external funding, the hard skills, but also teach them soft skills, time management, how to take care of the home and take care also of their research, because, a researcher has to work harder than just somebody who goes to work and come back, because they have to produce. You don't publish, you perish. And so they have that extra one to do. There are many hurdles, of course, for an African woman. You know what it is. You are a woman in Africa already, with all those stereotypes and cultural inhibitions and so on. So you have them and you have challenges. But I always tell everyone, don't find them as obstacles. Take them as opportunities. Which you can go around them and get to, where you want to get to. Dream big, have confidence in yourself. And this is what we try to get those women to do. And then we also go out to secondary school to talk to girls to get them into STEM. We've even done also primary school. So I really believe what we are doing in the Higher Women Consortium in Cameroon is what should be done maybe, in most of our countries. Good, holistic mentorship for women. It's
Professor
Yes.
Rose Leke, thank you so much. I can honestly say I even just having a quick chat with you, I'm truly inspired. Congratulations on your achievements over your career. Congratulations for being in Paris, to be honoured for the work that you have done. And thanks very much for making the time for us.
Thank you. I'm so happy that I could at least talk with you, and I thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Professor. And finally, Benin is on the brink of throwing open its doors to those of the African diaspora who want to claim nationality. If approved, the move would see it join countries like Sierra Leone, Rwanda and Zambia, which grant citizenship to third-generation descendants from elsewhere in the world who want to reconnect with their roots on the continent. Our correspondent reports.
Delegations from Nigeria, Ghana, Togo and the Antilles arrived to pay their final respects to Mère Dia, an ecological activist born in the Caribbean island of Guadeloupe, who later became Beninese. For years, she fought tirelessly for the rights of Afrodescendants to be granted citizenship in Benin.
It's a 27-year struggle that is about to come to an end, even though Mère Dia will not see it.
The return campaigner passed away just 10 days before Cotonou announced plans to officially recognize Afrodescendants as Africans. Her husband and fellow activist, Mère Dia, says such institutional acceptance would be hugely significant to the African diaspora.
Today, it's truly our nationality that confirms we're returning as African.
Agzaïma Martial is originally from Martinique. After 5 years of residency in Benin, she was recently granted citizenship here by decree.
We have regained our rights. We believe that Benin has made a historic step forward, and it will facilitate the settling and integration of Afro-descendants.
I think that today's relationship between Africa and the Caribbean and the diaspora is a step forward, and this step forward cannot be stopped.
Kamaline Saï is originally from Guadeloupe, but now lives in Cotonou. He says that becoming Beninese would make him more confident about investing more money into his business here.
This will give us more confidence. We'll feel more inclined to do business, not recklessly, but in a safer way.
More than 200 million people of African descent live outside of the continent. Many are descendants of the millions of Africans kidnapped and sent to the Americas in a life of enslavement between the 16th and 19th century. Benin's well aware that today its innovation and prosperity could be boosted by returning Afro-descendants.
Well, that's it for Eye on Africa. Thanks very much for joining us, though. Do so again if you can. Till then, take care.